This is Imaginary Me, where we see through the illusion of the separate self. Welcome back. It's Imaginary Me. I wanted to touch on an irony that I find happening quite a lot. And that's the fact that I feel compelled to talk about things like self-realization, non-duality, enlightenment, that kind of thing, and all the nuances thereof. But words are inherently flawed and really incapable of meaningfully expressing anything to do with these topics, these matters. Words are wholly and completely inadequate. Silence is the best carrier of meaning when it comes to self-realization, non-duality, these things. Silence is the best carrier, which is why I guess some teachers in the past have simply sat silently while their students sat around them and mostly failed to get what they were, get the transmission that the teachers were hoping for. We are forced to use words to convey meaning if we want to talk about these things. If I put out an audio track of silence, 20 minutes of silence with Imaginary Me, I don't know if we'd get very far. Maybe that would be great. A few people would get silence, and that's that. It would be an interesting trick, actually, to put out a podcast with just nothing but silence in it. That may reach the right person at the right time. It is possible. But for the vast majority of people, that would not even begin to work. So if we're going to talk about these matters, if we're going to explore together, then we're forced to use words to talk about the inexpressible, which puts us in kind of a bind, in that everything that I say about self-realization and non-duality and such will inherently be flawed and I was going to say quite probably, but almost certainly wrong. It misses the mark completely when you use words to express what can't be conceptualized. The finger pointing at the moon. So it's very important that we realize that the language we use is inherently flawed and doesn't even come close to describing or adequately pointing to what's being expressed. The words are not the thing itself, and they are mostly inadequate pointers as well, which is why it's so hard to talk about these things. And people might ask me, well, why do you bother talking about them? That's a very good question. I'm not sure. The need to talk about these things arises. Now, I'm sure there are many, many, many self-realized out there, self-realized people. See, inherently that's wrong too, to call people people are not self-realized, but you see the dangers of language. But in order to talk about these things, we have to express ourselves in whatever way we can. I was going to say that I'm sure there are many self-realized people out there who don't feel compelled to talk about self-realization, their own experience or anyone else's, because it's difficult and fraught. And you know that whatever you say about this topic will be wrong, which puts you in a very bad position, actually, knowing that everything you say is off. How many people would persist with that? Well, I'm sure that the famous teachers out there, and Jiddu Krishnamurti and Ramana Maharshi and others, all have their own ways of talking about these things. So what are we left to do? We can go forward. We just need to understand that the language we're using is inadequate for the task. And no matter what we do, we will fall short of the mark. And some people will resonate with what I say, other people will not, and that is fine and okay. And that's to be expected, actually. The wonderful thing and the maddening thing about talking about self-realization is that your particular expression of that will differ from everyone else's. And that's wonderful because we need different expressions of that same reality to reach different people at different stages, levels, and understanding. What's appropriate for one person who needs just a nudge over the edge is a lot different from someone who has never heard of self-realization. So it's just something we have to deal with and get used to. The most important thing I would say is not to get hung up on the particular expression of a particular person, because what we are talking about goes beyond the personal, beyond the expression, beyond the concepts, to the thing itself that's being expressed. So the challenges of language can be a real hang-up and a pitfall. The challenge always is to look beyond the words. That's all for now. Until next time, take care and enjoy yourself.